So some people have been asking me, Ugusi, how did I come about to learn about Indoya astrology? Because I've been known as someone who is just a spiritual medium, and Indoya, I've just been doing Indoya Semsamo, and finding out amadlozi abantu abahamba nawo, sorting them out, and silungise izinto zomsamo kanjalo kanjalo. For me, as time went on, I realized ukuthi we can do izinto zasemsamo and cleanse amadlozi ethu and appease them, whichever way we choose to do it. But at the end of the day, there are always problems, and it's important for us to understand ukuthi those problems lawo are not going to go away until we understand the universe. We understand which we are also part of a bigger picture. It's not only just about our ancestors. So that is where I started learning about astrology. Also, I learned it in order to make sense about my own life, because sometimes you live your life and you do this, whatever you're doing, but there is always a void, when you haven't met your real purpose. And I needed to find that, because at some stage I thought, okay, I'm a spiritual medium and it ends there. But as time went on, I realized, I still need to dig deeper. That is when I started to do my own birth charts and understand it. Okay, so this is why things are happening like this in my life. This is why I'm a spiritual medium. This is why I had to leave my job. I had to work and do this thing, my ancestors, for so long. And then I needed to find out about other things here in my life. It made so much sense to me, such that I started integrating it with my work, Yasemsamo. And that is when I started to see, this thing doesn't make sense to me, or just me. It's making sense to everybody else, that comes into contact with their purpose. Because the purpose that we are living, my ancestors, of being a spiritual medium and helping people and stuff like that, or becoming a sangoma, it's not the bigger picture. There's a bigger picture that tells you in a birth chart, that is why you are this, that is why you are this sangoma. It's because you have these planets aspecting you this way in your birth chart, and this thing was drawn up for you as a snapshot of your life on the day that you were born. So that is bigger. It is bigger than your ancestors. I'd like to believe also, Uguti, even now my ancestors have their own birth charts. Everything has a birth chart, actually. Countries have birth charts. A business has a birth chart. Anything, in this life has a birth chart. And at that moment where that thing is born, there is a snapshot of the planets, how they are placed at that point in time. If it's going to fail, the planets are telling a story, a whole story, if this thing is going to fail or is going to be a success. So for me, I started tracking my life according to my birth charts, and it made so much sense. I'm a Gemini sign, I'm a Capricorn moon, I am a Scorpio rising. It made so much sense to the fact, Yoguti, I came to accept my life the way as it is. Because sometimes you fight a lot wanting to be this, and then it's not happening. But when you get to understand your purpose, you get to relax and you get to accept certain things, and then you get to see which doors are open for you where you can excel in life, instead of wasting your energy on the things that are never going to come into fruition. So that is how it happened for me. Also, because Mina, growing up, I used to read horoscope in the papers, and my dad would bring the newspaper every time, the Daily News or the Mercury, and I would read my son as being Gemini. Sometimes things will not happen the way that it's said in the paper, but I would always read it. And as growing up, I started to dig deep into this thing of astrology, and that is when I learned to see it's not only about your sun sign. You have to find your moon sign as well, and your rising sign. And the rising sign makes a lot of sense in terms of how things are happening in your life, because that is how you are projected in this world, and that is why the world brings back energy to you. And when I learned that, and then I learned about the houses and how the energies, the planets aspect each and every house of your birth charts, it made a lot of sense. It made me understand why things happened the way they happened in my life until that point, and why things are happening the way that are happening now. And then it gives you a focus of your future, of where you're going. And now that I'm incorporating the two, doing Indoyama ancestors only for people who are still stuck there, because I feel Uguti, doing Indoyama ancestors is not the whole picture, it's not the complete picture. You have to incorporate other energies in the universe so that you can get the bigger picture, not only for yourself but for us as a collective, to see where mankind is coming from and where we are going. You have to learn about your consciousness, where we come from, where we are at the moment, and learn about the future, so that you can have something that you can leave behind for as a legacy, for the generations to come. Because we are human beings, we are evolving and we are growing, spiritually and otherwise. There will always be movement. We cannot be stuck in one place. especially subconsciously, you know. And sometimes we grow by default, be it physically or spiritually. We do grow in this world. If we do not accept that fact, if we stay stagnant in one thing, then we are, you know, causing a blockage in the manner that information filters from us to the generations that are coming behind us. So that is my take actually on this thing. You really need to grow, and I find some people are afraid to grow and change and reinvent themselves. They don't understand though, you know, there are planets like Pluto. If you have Pluto in the first house, you know, Pluto is going to transform your life time and again. And if you come from an environment where change is frowned upon, then you're going to be frustrated, because each time, you know, something happens in your life and you have to change and reinvent yourself, to you it's not going to come naturally, and you're going to be thinking about other people, what are people going to say, you know. And especially for people who are Scorpio risings, we have a midheaven here to its 10th house, and this thing creates a conflict, you know, sometimes, because sometimes we are people who want to remain private, you know, especially with our own lives, but at the same time the universe is forcing us to be out there and share the knowledge that we have learned in our own transformation, so that the other people that are coming behind us will also take our lessons from those things and use it in their own lives. And if we don't do that, we are not aligning with our purpose. So there are energies that clashes in this life, but there's nothing you can do about that, you know. But when you know and understand, you know, it makes things easier for you, because you understand, okay, this is who I am. Scorpio is about transformation, you know. I cannot remain stagnant, you know. I must just not worry about people, what they think and what they're going to say. I must do whatever I feel inside, because that is what the universe is saying to me at this point in time. So for me, it made so much sense. It still does make a lot of sense even now. And I am a spiritual medium, yeah. I do my readings on my ancestors, whereby people come and they want to find out what ancestors are they in your life, and what kind of problems are they causing and bringing about in their lives. That I do that, but at the same time I do my best charts, and I find I enjoy doing my best charts so much, and I encourage people. I give them a choice, you know, but I always give them a choice. Rather do a best chart, because a best chart is going to tell you about everything else on top of our ancestral problems, and it's going to take you to a place of elevation, you know. It's not going to leave you there with the ancestors, because once you open the portal of our ancestors, it's a never-ending story. It's going to take you years until you come to a point where they're going to say, okay, now you've cleansed us all and everything is fine, now you can relax and live your normal life. It takes a very long time, and it takes a lot of dedication, but again, once you've come to a point where they say that to you, congratulations, you are very lucky, you are one of the few people that has happened to. Most people, they do this thing until, you know, their time is over, without having come to an end, you know, of doing these things, rituals and cleansing time and again. But when you do this thing again by astrology, and you take it to your best chart and you try and find out what aspects are there and challenging you, it becomes better, because you connect directly to the source, you know. You connect to the source that is inside of you. You become empowered, and it's not you don't entertain our ancestors anymore, but you cleanse and release them same time and move on from that, you know. This process that usually takes years for people to do, when you are able with your mindset and regulating your nervous system, you are able to do it on the spot, as long as you fully understand, you know, what this thing is about. As long as you fully understand our ancestors are just a small aspect of our lives that affects us and cause our problems, but the bigger picture is the universe, the bigger picture is the source, the bigger picture is the creator, the main source that is inexplicable, you know, that has different names for each and every one of us, the source that created us and the ancestors themselves.